So let's start with here, right? Let's look at the first question. It says coefficient of m. So the coefficient of m here, m we have here. If it says coefficient, we are just going to use this term because just coefficient means the numerical coefficient. So what we'll have here is we'll have the coefficient as, I'll use the red color. We'll have the coefficient as minus 2 by 2 upon 3. So this would be my answer for the first question. Okay, for the second question, an exterior angle of regular polygon is 45 degree. Find the number. So it says exterior angle of a regular polygon. So do you remember the measure of a angle of a regular polygon? The exterior angle of a regular polygon was 360 degree divided by number of sides. So basically number of sides n would be equal to 360 degrees divided by 45 degrees, which would give me 45 to 90 times 9 4 4, so 8. So we have 8 sides. Okay, this is our final answer. Similarly, find the product of these two. I hope this is not very confusing. So first we multiply the numbers. So 5 times 25 we get 5, 3, 3, and so 3 times 3 is 9. So now we are left with minus 3 into 5, which would give me the number is 3 times 5 is minus 15. So the numerical part is done. Now a to the power 5 multiplied a to the power 3 would give me a to the power 8, and b to the power 3 multiplied by b to the square gives me b to the power 5. The powers are added, right? The exponents are going to be added. So a has the exponent 5 here and it has 3 here, so total it becomes a to the power 8, a with exponent of 8, and b's exponent here is 3, here it's 2, so it becomes 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. So this is my final answer for this one. For question number 4, a quadrilateral has 3 acute angles, each measuring 75 degree. So the 3 angles are known. So the angles that are known is 3 multiplied by 75 degree, the total, right? Find a measure, and the fourth measure would be simply the sum of all the 4 angles is 360 degree, right? So 360 would, the fourth degree would be basically 360 minus the multiplication of this. So 75 times 3 is 150 plus 75, which becomes 225. So we subtract 225 degrees, it would become 360 minus 225 would give me, okay, I'll write it down here. So 300 minus 200 is 100, and 60 minus 25 is 35. So 135 degrees. So this is my final answer for this question. Name the parallelogram in which diagonals are equal. So the diagonals are equal in 2 types of parallelograms. 2 types of parallelograms, which is a rectangle and a square, but the adjacent sides are unequal. So in square, the adjacent sides are equal, hence the answer will be rectangle. Right? And looking at the last question of 1 mark, the 2 adjacent sides of a rectangle are this and this. Find the perimeter. So if the adjacent sides are known, that is length and breadth or length or width are known, what we do simply 2 times the sum of both. So I'll write down this 5x square minus 3y square added by this, which is minus 3x square plus 2y. Now I'll keep the multiplication outside because it's out of the parenthesis. What we do next is we subtract the like terms. So 5 minus 3 is 2. So I'll have 2 times 2x square minus 3y plus 2y. 2 minus 3 gives me minus 1, which is minus y square. On multiplying this, I would get something of the type 2 times 2, 4x square minus 2 times y, which is 2y square. So my answer could be either this one or this one. Okay, so the final answer is going to be either of this. Both are correct. So this was the 1 mark questions. Now let's move to the second 2 mark questions. The first 2 mark questions, it says find the value using identities, and the value that we have right here is something. Let me just switch the color. Can I? So I'm not going to use the black this area, so I'm just going to write it down here. So the question 7, it says 10.5 multiplied by 9.6. Now if we look at these two numbers, both of them are closer to 10, so we are going to use the identity x plus a multiplied by x minus b, or x plus b. Okay, so what do we have here? We have 10 plus 0.5. Okay, now just give me a second, let me take this towards this side. So what do we have here? We have 10 multiplied plus 0.5 multiplied by 10 minus 0.4. We will not skip this step. If we skip this step, there are chances that it's going to be incorrect. Now what do we see? We see that it's of the type x plus a multiplied x plus b, or simply x minus b, and this would give us something like this: whole square, the first square, plus the sum or the difference of these two multiplied by x, so a minus b into x, and then finally the product of these two with the common sign. So it would not be plus, it would be minus ab, right? So we're going to use this identity in this one, and hence or this whole thing would look like, let me erase this for a while. So this would look like, the first thing would be a square, which is 10 square. Then we would have plus a minus b. Our a is 0.5, then 0.4. So 0.5 minus 0.4 multiplied by a, which is 10. Then minus, then multiplied by both the terms, which would be 0.5 multiplied 0.4, right? And it's that. So 10 square is 100 plus 0.5 minus 0.1 0.4 gives me 0.1, and multiplying 0.1 into 10 we would simply get 1, and then here 0.5 multiplied by 0.4 would give me 0.20. So finally what do I have here? I have 100 plus 1 minus 0.2, which would give me 100 plus 1 minus 0.2 would give me 0.8, and this would give me 100.8. So my final answer would be 100.8 for question number 7. Got it? Okay, let me just redo this. I don't need this one, I'm just going to use here one. Now let's look at the second question. So the second question to my question says, in a parallelogram, here in a parallelogram, if an angle is 2/3, you see 2/3 of its adjacent, find the smallest angle. So now let me just draw for question number 8. I'm going to draw a parallelogram here. Let me just increase the size. So it says in a parallelogram, so I'm going to draw a parallelogram here. Angle, if an angle is 2/3, so this angle, let's take this is the smaller one and this is the larger one. So if I say, let me name this edge, so if I say angle O is equal to 2/3 of its adjacent, that is angle N, 2/3 angle N, find the smallest angle. Now this is a parallelogram, so the opposite angles are going to be equal, right? So angle O is going to be equal to angle M, and angle N is equal to be angle B, going to be equal to angle B. Now I have an equation here. Angle O is equal to this much. So by applying angle sum property, what I can do is I can simply say the sum of all the 4 angles is going to be 360 degree, or the sum of 2 adjacent angles are going to be 180 degree. So if I say angle O plus angle N, the adjacent, it should give me 180 degrees, right? And I know angle O is equal to this much. So I'm going to put the value here, 2/3 angle N plus angle N, which is 1 times angle N, gives me 180 degree. What does it give me? On further solving, I would get 1 plus 2/3. It would give me what? Can you guess? You don't have to guess. Okay, so 1 by 1, it will become simply 3 times, and this will become 3, so 3 plus 2 is 5 times angle n. This is equal to 180 degree. Hence angle n would be 180 degrees multiplied by 3 upon 5, and this would give me, oh sorry, I think I made a mistake. So 10 times 18, 36, 36 into 3 is 6 is 18, 108 degrees. So angle n, the larger angle is 108 degree. This would be 72 degrees, right? Angle O is equal to 72 degrees. How? 2 by 3 into 108. 36 times 2, 72 degrees. The smallest angle is 72 degrees. Got it? That's it. Let me just write this here. Now let's look at the last question. It says simplify this and find its value. So I'm going to write down the question's equation here. Sorry, the polynomial here. So it says 2x multiplied by x minus 3 minus 4 times 5x plus 2, and find the value for x is equal to minus 1 by 2, right? X is equal to minus 1 by 2. So it's not very tough. Just start by looking at the polynomials. We have to solve this first, and then this. We have to solve both of them separately. So solving this, 2x multiplied by x gives me 2x square, and multiplying this gives me 6x. So the first part is solved. Minus 4 times 5 is 20x, and 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm done with this also. On solving further, there's a minus sign, so this signs, the symbol of these two would change. So what I get is 2x square minus 6x minus 20x minus 8. And on solving further, I would get 2x square minus 26x minus 8. Now the question had asked us to find its value for x is equal to half. So I'll put the value of half here. When x is equal to negative 1 upon 2, it would give me 2 times negative 1 upon 2 square minus 26 times negative 1 upon 2 minus 8. So this whole part becomes, the square of 1 becomes minus 1, the square of 2 becomes, so minus square becomes plus 1, the square of 2 becomes 4. So inside the bracket I have 1 upon 4, right? So inside the bracket I have 1 upon 4, and outside I have 2 multiplied. In the next one again, we have 26 multiplied minus. So the minus and the minus multiplied makes it positive. So now I have 26 multiplied 1 by 2, and then I have a minus 8 separately. Now on solving this further, I can cancel it out as 2 times, right? And then I can have this as 13. So what am I left with? I am left with 1 upon 2 plus 13 minus 8. So now I can either add this first or subtract. We can do it either way, right? So on solving this further, what I would get is 13 whole 1 by 2, which is 27 by 2, 27 by 2 minus 8, which would give me 27 minus 8 2 are 16 by 2, which would give me 27 minus 17 is 10, so 11 by 2, or 5 whole 1 by 2. So either of this could be our final answer, 5 whole 1 by 2 or 11 upon 2. That's it. Got it? So this was all the 2 mark questions from the question paper. Now let me just stop. Let's move to the next part now. The 3 mark questions. The first question is here, question number 10. The first thing it says, it's a type of question that we have practiced multiple times. So we have 3p plus 5q is equal to 11. we know the value of PQ, and it asks us to find the value of this. So what I'm going to do, we are going to start with this one. So I'm going to write down here 3P plus 5Q is equal to 11. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to square this. So if I square this, what do I get? 3P plus 5Q whole square would give me the square of the first term, A square, then the square of the second term, which is B, or in this case 5K square, then the product of twice the product of both of these, 3P 5Q. Now this would give me 9P square. This would give me 25Q square. Now if you look very closely at this, we have three numerical parts here, the coefficients, right? So 2 times 3, 6, 6 times 5, 30. So I'm going to write down 30 here, and then the two literals, that is the variables P and Q, multiplied become PQ. Now what I have here is 9P square, 25Q plus 30PQ, and out of all of this, we know the value of this part is to be calculated. It has to be found, right? Find the value of this, but we know the value of this part, which is given here 2. So this part becomes 2, and then we also know the value of this part is given as 11. So what I can do simply is I can put it down here is 11 square. On further solving, the square of 11 is 121 equals, we don't know the value of this, we need to find it. So I'm going to write it down as it is, 9P square plus 25Q square, and then we know the value of this is 2, so 30 times 2. 30 times 2. This would give us something like this, 9P square plus 25Q square plus 60, right? And this would be equal to 121. Now this plus 60 on subtracted from both the sides would give us 9P square plus 25Q square, which would be 121 minus 60. On solving this further, we would get 61. So the value, the final answer for us would be 61. Okay, that's it. Now look for the next question. We have a case study here. So look here. The first thing that we need to find is there's a parallelogram, right? So I'm going to reconstruct a parallelogram here. Sorry. So let's say it's a rectangle, my bad. It's a rectangle, right? So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. The first thing that we know about rectangles is all the angles are 90 degrees, right? So now I'm going to mark it here, and I'm going to mark it here also. So I have 90 degree here, I have a 90 degree here, I have a 90 degree here. Now this is also 90 degree, the whole part. The first thing that I observe now, sorry, the next thing I observe is this side. If there is a point here, I'm going to mark it as T, and if this is S and P, it says this side and this side is equal, which means ST is equal to PT. Therefore, these two angles are also going to be equal, right? And this is a right angle triangle. So we know the value of this angle is 90 degree. So the sum of these two angles is going to be 90. And as both are equal, angle T plus angle P. Okay, let me rewrite this. Angle STP plus angle SPT should give me 90 degrees. Why? Because the third angle of the triangle is 90 degrees and both are equal. Therefore, as both of this, angle STP is equal to angle SPT, both of them would be 45 degrees plus 45 degrees, right? So I know the value of this angle is 45. I know the value of this angle is 45. So I'm going to write it down here using a color here. So this angle right here is 45 degrees. Now I know the angle of the value of this is 45, and I know the whole angle is going to be 45. Therefore, this is also going to be, this whole is 90, so this is going to be 45 degrees. So now I've got my first part, that is y. The value of y is 45 degrees. Right. Now I've got the first part. Now looking at the next part, I know this is 90 degrees. I know this is 90 degrees. I know this is 45. So the only point test remaining to find is this interior angle. The sum of all the four angles is 360 degree. Now these two become 180 degree. So the sum of these two should be 180. X plus Y should be 180 degrees. Therefore, angle X would be what? We don't have to use the angle symbol because it's a value, right? So the value of X would be 180 degrees minus Y, that is 45. 180 degrees minus 45 degrees would give me 135 degrees. So I know the value of X is 135 degrees and the value of Y is 45 degrees, right? Now let's come back and look at the questions. The first thing, the value of X, we know the value of X is 135. So my answer would be this one. Okay, my answer would be option C. Then it says the value of X plus 2Y. So X plus 2Y. I know the value of X. I know the value of 45. Y is 45. So what is the value of X plus 2Y? X is 135. So X plus 2Y would give me 135 plus 2 times 40 is 90, which would be 225 degrees, right? So I have the answer as 225 degrees. Then it says name the quadrilateral PQRT. PQRT. So now if we look closely, this is a trapezium, right? Because it has two parallel sides. So it's a trapezium. Looking at the next question. So we have the next question here. It's a so that question, right? This is the last 3 mark question. So okay, just let me pause for a while here. So now let's look at this question number 12. It says so that this part is equal to the other one, right? So it's basically the variables. If you look very closely, the terms are similar. 10 upon 3m, 10 upon 3m, 9 upon 5n, 9 upon 5n, 24mn. The only difference is in this one there's a negative square and in this one there's a positive inside the whole square thing, right? So I'm going to write it down here. So looking at the left hand side, it says 10. Okay, sorry. So the first one says 10 upon 3m. What's happening? Give me a second, okay? Now, the first one says 10 upon 3m minus 9 upon 5n whole square plus 24mn. Now if I solve this part, what do I get? I get the square of the first thing, which is 10 upon 3m whole square minus the square of the second thing, 9 upon 5n plus, okay, a minus b whole square is a plus square plus b square. Then minus 2 times both the terms, which is 10 upon 3m multiplied by 9 upon 5n. And then I have the plus 24mn part. On the right hand side, I have 10 upon 3m plus 9 upon 5n whole square. On expanding this, I would get something similar to this. The only difference would be here it would be a positive sign, right? So I'm just going to write down the square of the first thing, 10 upon 3m whole square plus 9 upon 5n whole square plus 2 times 10 upon 3m times 9 upon 5n. Now if you look very closely, what do we have? We have this part. This whole part is exactly similar, exactly same on both sides of the equal to symbol, right? So on subtracting both of these from both the sides, what I would get is I would simply get 24mn minus 5 times 2 is 3 times 3, so 2 times 2 times 3, 2 to 4, 4 times 3 is 4 3 are 12. 12 times mn plus 24 mn would be, again, these parts are cancelled out, right? All of this is cancelled out. So I'm left with this again. 3 times 3, 5 times 2. 2 times 2, 4. 4 times 3, 12. So I'm left with 12 mn. Now subtracting, okay, I wrote this 24 mn here only. 24 mn minus 12 mn would give me 12 mn. And on the right side also I have 12 m. Hence it's proved that both of them are equal, right? Hence proved. That's it. Now moving on to the next question. It's a section D question, the 4-mark question. So it says, in a quadrilateral ABCD, AD is parallel to BC. So here AD is this line, BC is this line. So these two are parallel, right? Find the value of x and y. And we need to find the value of x and y. It might look daunting, but it's actually very easy. So now let's break this down. I'm going to look at the right part. If I break it down like this, I'm going to look at the right part for now. So I have two parallel lines and I have a transversal here. So these two angles are alternate angles on the interior alternate angles, right? And they are equal to one another. So the value of this is 2x minus 20 degrees, and the value of this is x plus 40 degrees. And as they are interior alternate angles, they are going to be equal. So on solving this further, I can simply say 2x, x comes this side, so subtracting from both sides, I would get something like this. And adding 20 on the both side, I would get, subtracting this, I get x is equal to, which is 60 degrees, right? So now I have found the first part, which is x is equal to 60 degrees. For the second part for y, now let's look at this part, okay? So I'm going to draw another, I have a parallel line here. Again, if I look at this angle and this angle, again, they are interior alternate angles, so they are going to be equal. So if the value of this is something, the value of this would be the same thing, right? So if the value of this part is 3x plus y plus 30, this is going to be the same thing. So I'm going to write it down here, 3x plus y minus 30 degrees. And the value of this is known, right? The value of this is y plus 20 degrees. So I'm going to write it down here, y plus 20 degree. Now if you look closely, this makes a linear pair. This is a linear pair, right? And the sum of the angles of a linear pair is 180 degrees. So I'm going to use it here, apply it. So 3x plus y minus 30 degrees plus y plus 20 degrees should be how much? 180 degrees, right? So now let's look here. We have y and 3x 20. So we know the value of x. The value of x is 60. So 3 times 60 is 180 degrees minus 30 degrees plus 20 degrees plus y is 2y is equal to 180 degrees. Now if we solve this very closely, if we look at this part, we get 20 minus 30 is minus 10 degrees. I'm trying to, okay, we can solve it either way. If you look at this part, it's minus 10 and we have 180 on both sides. So 180 can be cancelled out and 2y would be equal to 10. Let's look at this step by step, okay? So here we would get 180 plus 20, 200. So 200 minus 30 degrees, right? Which would be 170 degrees. So I'm not going to write this one. I'm just going to simply write 170 degrees. Sorry. 170 degrees. Sorry, 170 degrees plus 2y is equal to 180 degree. And on solving this further, I would get 2y is equal to 180 degrees minus 170 degrees, which is equal to 10 degree. Therefore, we know the value of y would be 10 upon 2, which is 5. Y is equal to 5 degrees. Got it? So we have found the value of x and y here. Now let's look at the next part. Okay, just next page we have the last question, which is the OR question. So look at the OR question here. It says It's something like in a parallelogram. So I'm going to draw a parallelogram first. So the parallelogram would look something like this. I'm just bear my rough drawing, and I'm going to name it KLMN. Okay, so KLMN, right?